Not going to jump in right away with this sort of second period. I might do it tomorrow morning, but I feel fatigued. I've been trying to clean my roof. It doesn't look good. I need to get somebody up there because of the moss, but not the moths. But the thoughts that I had at the end of the last video, there was something I did not contemplate on the video. I then expressed it in an email to the designer, which is the shifting of trains thing. It has a further possible implication. It doesn't just have to be one player who's doing it. Like with the, hey, we could work something out where we're playing with the shares. Much more likely is if two players are falling behind a third. Now, in a two-player game, probably both players have two companies, so they'll just both be jerking their trains around, and you may not see these come out. But in a three-player game, it's possible that two players who feel that they're falling behind, which might be the case over here. I mean, this guy's got $100 and something that he's collected, whereas no one else has that kind of money. What's going on? Why is white doing that much better? I don't know the answer to that. Two good trains, the extra share, it still looks like too much. I may have cheated somehow. Oh no, it's the extra $10 a turn from this as well. Remember, it doesn't take a lot of money to make it look like you're doing a lot better than everyone else, because there's just not a lot of money in this game. I bet you that's it. Because everybody else fired off their strategy cards pretty quickly. I also had this one for an extra turn, but this one has been running for like 2 extra operating rounds, which is a fair amount of cash. But yeah, I mean, it could be possible that red, that these two players would end up shifting a train around between them. And obviously, that takes some trust, but it might be worth it, Anyway. I'm not feeling too well. I don't know what that's going to mean for whether I'm working today or go out tonight or whether I play more or less of this. But I had a few things I wanted to clear up because the designer got back to me about those special cases. And I'm just going to keep playing as things are, but I'll take the new rules into effect for the second half of the game. The first one is, well, the first thing that I want to take care of is I fucked up myself on the first turn of the game when somebody bought a pair of yellow trains. Yes, I set up my entire sort of beginning strategy around, hey, I can buy 2 trains and get them running on the first turn. The game only allows you to buy 1 train, as we found out very recently when I had noted that in the rules, trying to look for something to prevent me from shifting trains. And so that strategy is not a valid one. And you could see what the problem was with it. It was that it kind of forces out the green train. Otherwise, if 4 companies start on the first turn, all 4 have a yellow train, and there's nothing too exciting or interesting to go on. But yeah. Then for the 2 special rules, yeah, he's agreeing that you should do something so that a train only runs once per operating round. So I'm going to not allow this fancy train shift to be going on. It's kind of a shame because, well, it doesn't make too much difference. I think, I don't know. Yellow's probably going to buy another train. But it definitely reduces the value of having 2 companies. 2 companies really like kicked in some extra value if you can trade trains between them. I didn't think that was intended, but I wanted to play with it a little bit, even though, because it is a cool idea. And then the other one is, in the very, very rare case where someone is dumping a company and the other person only has special shares, he came up with rules for that, which is that you must take the normal shares first. Then you take the long shares, which are a bonus, with the money, all status on them, and then you take the short shares. So they never actually end up in the bank pool or anything like that, which would be really weird. But they do get transferred. And yeah, I don't feel well enough to jump in right away. Feeling a little better. I took most of the day off work. Still not decided on dancing. You know, if it weren't for the COVID situation, I probably would just, I almost certainly would go. You know, I've been much sicker than this and gone. But I got the worry of, like, you know, I don't want to be spreading. On the other hand, this doesn't, I don't know, it feels flu-like. It doesn't feel like what I think I had previously, but who the hell knows now? I mean, yeah. Anyway, so we're in this special point in this game where all the strategy cards have been stripped away from everyone. Now they're up for bid, and they get reshuffled. Making up my own. With small decks like this, the way I shuffle them is I shuffle them by hand a little bit, and then I roll dice to determine which card to play face down, because I just don't trust my hand shuffling to necessarily not have, like, I don't know, maybe a subconscious bias or some foreknowledge or something. So the first one that comes up is the yellow off-board contract. Now, the way the bidding happens is each player basically takes a handful of money and puts a bid in as to what they think it's worth to them. There are cards that are worth a lot comparatively. There are others that maybe it's harder to tell. All of them are worth something, and if there's nobody left to bid, you get the last two for free. So you got to make your judgment as to the opportunity cost involved. It's the relative value of the cards. So, like, if nobody bids on this, well, it actually goes away, which is an interesting factor. So early ones might be worth bidding $1 on anyway, just to make sure that you get one and that the price doesn't get inflated because there are none. So if we look at the yellow locations off board, there are only 2. And it really looks to me like white is the person who is most interested in this. On the other hand, it's worth $5 a round, you know? So it's not like only white is willing to pay $1 for it. It's a situation where that pricing becomes, it's really a hard thing to make a judgment on. And I tried to use my normal kind of auction rules on it, which don't really fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at white, and I say, you know what? Well, first let's look at other 2 players. What is it worth to them for that $5 a round? And to me, I don't know. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll a die. On a 6, it's worth more than $3. Otherwise, it's going to be $1 to $3 on the bid. I think it's worth $1 no matter what for anyone. Red can hit this one probably. Yellow or blue could hit one of these. So there's some value to it, and there's also the constant income. $3 may be too much. On a 6, it's worth more than $2. Okay, so he's going to go with a $2 bid on that. Over here, same situation. He's only going with a $1 bid. What's it worth to white? And what is his valuation of what it's worth to other people? So again, if I don't think it's worth more than $2 to anyone, on a 5 or a 6, I'm worried. Okay. I'm not going to bid more than $3 on it. Now, if there's a tie in the bidding, you put additional bid in, again, secretly, among the people who are winning the tie. So in this case, I'm looking at, and again, you got to kind of make these decisions per player and everything else. I'm making the decision that 50% chance of a 3. Okay, so odds, I'll bid 3. 2 or 4, I'll bid 2. 6, I'll bid 1. I bid 3. I'm going to get it for that because everybody else bid less. So this card goes here. And I know this is clunky, and I'm using a lot of information here, and everybody's kind of using the same evaluation on that $2 or whatever, but I tried to throw some randomness in to show that. The next one, the central station. Okay, so this one is really interesting, but maybe doesn't matter who gets it. Oh, I don't know what happens in the case. Let's say 2 people bid on something, tie. 2 people tie for the bid on something, and then neither one wants to add anything. I'm not sure what happens in that case. I'm going to have to look that up. Tie on the second bid removes the strategy card entirely, which could get rid of one that is of value to players. In fact, this is the rule for a normal tie. If everybody bids 0, it doesn't just go away. There's now a tied bid where other people can bid. But the problem is, if everybody bids 0 and nobody really wanted it, but now it's like, well, maybe I better get it because cards are going to get discarded or whatever. And at this point now, in the 3-player game at least, there might be more than one person who bids 1. If everybody bids 0 twice, you know, that's fine. Nobody wanted it. Okay, so what's interesting about this one? About this one, first of all, it's got that $5. So it's got sort of a minimal value, right? You know, but the other thing is, and I think is worth bidding $1 on just to make sure that you're getting a card. The other thing is you can move this token. Now, right now, this token is right where it is, which means for blue and yellow, this will make the $5 per round and leave them in control of where the token is. So it's kind of appealing to them. On the other hand, for white and red, it would be kind of appealing to get it out of there because that's not the easiest place to put it. However, wherever you put it, you're not just helping yourself. So, for example, red might not want to bid much on it because white is doing better. And let's just let them pay for it if they want it and help both of us. Well, yeah, but, you know, if it's going to help us both the same, what do we do? Yeah, and this is really the problem, is that you're not guaranteeing yourself a tremendous advantage over everyone else. What are we going to do for the bids? Well, blue and yellow are both the same player. Wow. They have a real interest in this card. How big an interest? Damned if I know. White and red, I don't know. In each case, I'm going to say odd, it's worth 1 to 3. Even, it may be worth more. Maybe worth more. may be worth more. Okay. This is really hard because this is worth a good deal. I'm going to go here 4, 5, or maybe more. Maybe more. Here I'm at a minimum of 5, so we'll see. Here, little bit 5. No, not. Yeah, we're at the 4, 5. Yeah. So this guy may be willing to pay a little bit more than that. So I'm gonna go 4. No, I'm gonna go 5 or more. More. He's at 5 as his minimum. 5, between 5 and 10, right? 6, 7, 8, probably, and then 10. He's going to open up with a 10 bid. Again, this is all invisible. It's all in their hands. I'm just putting down. All right. That puts these guys at an unlikely position to get it. So what I was going to do was 5. We're both at that more. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. He's putting an 8 bid in. He's out of the auction because I know that he's got a higher bid. This guy's going to go a little less than that. I don't know what. Well, only on a 6 will we be hitting anywhere near 10. Okay. So the 10 bid is going to succeed here. And that gets him this. The reason this is good, I get to collect the $5 each round for it, and I get to leave that where it is. I don't have to ever play the card. That's why it's particularly interesting to yellow blue. Plus he's got 2 companies, both of which rely on it, which is exceptionally good. This one is always nice. It's a big pile of money. Before it was $25, now it's $40, but in your company. Now, these guys are making 5 per operating round, so 10, $20 each in your pocket. That's their minimal value, right? But people are bidding, a couple bucks and getting something because you're pretty much guaranteed. That's about the worst card you can get. Of course, it might work well in the case of white. It connects him up. He's got 2 yellows, so there's a good chance that's going to be a worthwhile card for him. On the other hand, he only has 30% of the company for dividends, but other money going into here. How much is the fundraising worth? Well, again, it's $40 into a company. That can be a big kicker, but that's not worth $20 by any means, as far as I can see it. How much is it worth? Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to evaluate these cards. It's hard enough to evaluate the cards in a normal 18xx privates auction, but these affect so many different things. Among them, the priority control. Are you going to be the guy who's able to rape a company, or will you be safe in your holdings? Just all kind of stuff that's really hard to quantify. Whereas with the normal XX auction, you have like a base value, and you can kind of say, well, how much is it worth more than its base value? They're all pretty fairly represented, you guess. And then you find out about the Camden and Amboy, and that it's worth significantly more than anything else because, of the ability to double its value, along with everything else in the 1830 world. water on each side of that. Damned if I know. And this is why we use dice. Okay. One less than 5. 2 or 3, 5, 4 or more greater than 5. And I'm just going to do that across the board. Okay, he's going to put in a 5 bid. He's got a big bid coming, possibly. He went less than 5, so we're not even going to worry about him. He's going to go more than 5, but how much more than 5? 1 or 2, add a die roll to 5. 3 or 4 go to 10. 5 or 6 maybe go higher than 10. All right. We'll add a die roll to 10. $11. Way outbid everyone else. And again, the difficulty in evaluating these makes it particularly hard for me to figure this. Infrastructure push. Okay, this one lets you do one additional upgrade during one operating round for a company. Not a lot there. It's still only the $5 each. I don't think it's worth much to anybody. However, there are people with very few cards. Well, there are people without many cards. He's out of the bidding. So what I'm going to do is, I think this one's very, very unvaluable. Odd or even is 1 or 2. Is there something he wants? I mean, I would like the blue card. Odd 0, 2, 1. I'll put a bid on. Okay. He's a little bit more worried. We'll roll 0, 1, 2. He also bids 1. Okay, it's a tie. That creates something interesting. There will be a card missing if we both bid the same amount. 6, he bids an extra 1. He does not. Odd, he adds nothing. Or I'm sorry, 1, nothing. 2, he adds 1. 3, he adds 2. I count that as a 1. He adds nothing. Both of them get their money back, and this card is out of the game. Nobody wanted it. Enough. Now we're on the blue off-board contract. That impacts, really, no one's too thrilled about it. But now the cards have just gone up in value because there's a missing card. He's feeling a little better about his high bid. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. $2. $2. Oh, harsh. Well, I'm sitting on a blue in both cases. And in both cases, as soon as the grays come out, which is a while, these go up to 15. This one's at 10 already, so it's a little bit better. Zero, 1, 2 above. 0, 1, 2, but on a 6, maybe more. That's a 0. He's not bidding more. He is not getting it. That's a 0. All right, another card discarded. Wow. My past mechanism for generating these bids did not do this. And final card. And now he knew he's not getting 2 cards after that discard. Not putting the extra buck in means he was only getting 1 card at best. And this is the political influence. This one allows you to ignore the river borders, but also, and this is the important part, also the upgrade of the cities. And there's a lot of upgrading of cities to happen. At $5 each, it's a moderate amount of money. You might get to that 40, but probably not. And it's not going to happen all at once. However, it's worth $10 per operating round. So this is a really good one. Well, how much are shares worth? Because that might affect things. I got $63. That's enough. I can only buy one share unless I'm ditching something, which I can't afford to do. I got a little bit more than that, but not 70. I can only afford one share. Interesting. What is positioning matter? Everybody here could buy another share of blue and steal the company. I'm not sure you want to, but because the money's over here now. Well, priority is going to be here. He's got a best priority of 6. He's going to come in last no matter what. So priority cannot be moved by the purchase of this card, which is important. This, that this next stock round determines who owns blue, or could determine who owns blue. So, what do? Well, again, this card itself is worth $10 next operating round. However, it may not be worth not being able to buy a red card. Red doesn't look that exciting. A yellow. So if I hold 55 for yellow, $8 says this is a good buy. 55 is the most I can bid on anything. I'm just going to bid that. No thoughts. Just because that's worth it. What about him? Well, again, it's worth $10. So, almost immediately. It's probably worth more than that. 55 is the minimum that I have here. I have $11. Am I going to say that I need to buy a red share? Or do I want something else? I want the option open on the red share. I think I go with the $11. 11 is more than 8. Now, if I could count the other person's money and its hidden trackable information and all that, then maybe I know something. And we go to the stock round. Now, that was chaotic and weird. The first time I did it, I did something closer to my normal bidding mechanism, which meant that we didn't end up with ties in the same way and whatnot. I feel like this represented things a little bit closer to what the game actually would represent. I think that blue card probably should have, people should have bid on it. Certainly this guy should have, by not putting that, second or third buck in, he's throwing away money. That was a mistake. This guy may have really wanted this one, but probably was also worth putting a bid in. Let's imagine that they both put the same bid in and it was another tie and it broke it, though. That could have happened as well. So now we have a lot less of those strategy cards in play. After essentially a lost weekend, I slept all through Saturday and had to go shopping today. So, trying very hard to get this done before my depression sets in too deeply. Because it's snowballing. Our first possible purchase, our first stock option is over here. Now, I don't have to get rid of the blue share, and I could take over blue. But blue's situation is not terribly appealing, actually. There's only 20 bucks on here, no permanent train, and a low stock value that probably isn't going to be able, I mean, we're going to be talking about like 50 something bucks. So a lot of swallowing is in the future for it. I think my best move is to actually sell the blue share. Of course, there's the complexity of, well, what can I buy with it? And that becomes kind of confusing because there's so many options here. So I have 75, 85, 90 bucks. If I sell that, that brings me to 125, which is enough to buy a couple of shares of anything else. But it's enough to buy 2.5 shares of anything else, which means I could do another short-term investment and get myself a little bit more purchase power. There's a danger to that, though. Those short-term investments, if you want to call them that, and I've got a new copy of the rules in electronic format, but I haven't gotten a chance to look at it. I think playing is more valuable than trying to see, because I think it's just corrections that are specified before. I didn't hear anything new. The problem with the short-term investments are they're not going to produce the same income, and they take up slots. I can only hold 7 shares total in the 3-player game. So there is some balance to doing that. You can buy some extra shares, but they may not be as productive, say, in the last couple operating rounds as you would hope. And there's not much you can do about that. But I still think that's my best move because I want to crank value at this point. With pretty conservative actions across the board, about 1 share of red and 1 share of white. Could have gone with 2 shares of red. That would put more of a threat because he's probably going to be at a higher initiative. Well, he's certainly going to be at a higher initiative with 10 to be able to take over the red. But in order to have done that, I would have to kind of expose red. I could convert one of these. That would be 28 bucks, which would get me 30, 48, 49, just short of being able to buy another share of anything. I could have converted both of these to shorts. I chose not to. I don't really see too much advantage to running a second company. You can, I've got my dots in place already. Red's dot probably can't hurt me. All the dots are on the board except for one. The only place where it looks like it could do a lot of damage is right here. It's possible there could be a dot here of some importance. But that doesn't really hurt me. And I'm happy kind of diversified. I don't see any great advantage to investing in the extra share of red, although I have some extra cash left over from selling that blue share, which is not enough, it's not enough that I could have held the blue share. So what we've got is a situation where everybody's sitting on about the same. I've got 3.5 shares, 3.5 shares, and 3 shares there. Definitely holding 2 companies does not seem terribly advantageous. I feel like I've got the lead in general as long as I play a conservative game. I think I'm in pretty good shape because one of his shares is a blue share, which his is too, which don't look like they're going to produce a lot of money. And I think that passes us out and puts us into the operating round. And we're going to try to muddle through this and hope we get it done by the end of the day, but I don't know. Operating round after paying out the strategy cards, which all pay out now again, right? Because none of them have been triggered for the second action. The yellow company has a pile of cash on board, and they're pretty happy about that. But part of me wants to resist buying a T4. They're not very long lasting in this game. And, you know, it's going to hurt blue, but it clears one of the browns out of the way for $100. I will have $150 to buy a gray over here. And it's going to force the second brown to be purchased by the red company. So I think it's in my best interest to actually purchase it. I don't know what my run's going to be. We haven't gotten to brown track yet, so there's not a lot I can build. I don't have anything to convert except moving central station. So we're probably looking at, since I run through both of these, this isn't worth anything extra yet, although I may want to pay that. We're looking at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 65 probably off the one train. Train's not used to the game, having stepped away from it. I get to buy the train first. Big difference. Big difference. So that's gonna make a significantly larger payout. One in which I want to go through here twice. So I'll be running, I don't know. I bought the brown, so this becomes worth a lot. So I'll probably be running through here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. What did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. They look like they're about the same. 3 either way there. An interesting position as the next company to go. We get double payout. I don't remember what it was. It was 14.5 for the 145 for the run, which boosted them quite heavily. I've got enough money that if I sold my 2 shares, I could buy myself a brown and a gray, get myself a permanent train. But honestly, I don't think that's wise. Although I can make some more money right off the bat with it, I think I'm better off just buying the brown train and hoping to get the black train. That's going to produce more cash, I think. It's basically an 8-point train as opposed to a 6-point train, which is a significant difference. The only problem being red is quite far from hitting this doubled location. Oh, I could have built brown track this turn too. Yeah, well, I didn't want to. I wanted this. Okay, but yeah, I can... notably, I can make the shift up to here, which is intriguing. Nobody else has a token, so nobody's going to be able to place here. But maybe I don't want to. So what are we talking about? Like if I'm placing here, so if I'm running my 4 train, it would be running something like 1, 2. This is not optimal. 3, 4 doubled. I would rather get up here with its high value, but I don't think I want to go there particularly, because then that would get me... So this is worth a lot, especially as the cities grow. And that's why I think... But I think blocking this is maybe more valuable than putting a dot here, although we might find that things aren't quite as easy as they appear. Because I don't know where I'm going to have my 2 trains. Well, if I get a black train, it's going to kill the brown train, so yeah. So, first things first, we will not raise any cash. We just buy a brown train. and then we'll probably do an upgrade and a dot and hope we can get to that 175. Well, we will before we need it. Upgrade track we actually have two choices. One is this crazy piece, which I really hate, but and then this one, which I also kind of really hate. This one, both will do what I need them to do. I don't think I really care too much. This one may hurt white a little bit. White needs to get to yellow offboard. There's a yellow offboard there. If I build, nah, it's going to make it no matter what. Yeah, I honestly don't know which one makes more sense. I'll play this one because, let's see, because it's the harder for me to justify. I mean, they both get that, right? No, this one cuts off blue and yellow. Okay, screw blue and yellow. We'll hurt them, I think. I have no idea. When you face me with weird track pieces that I'm not used to, I don't know how to judge the geometry on them terribly well. And that's going to be a 4 train then, which will run from up here, 10, 20, 30, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, which is not great money, but it'll do. We're handling the problem of the brown train, we're at the problem of the gray train, which is also not terribly appealing. 25 bucks more, I get the black train, which again is worth significantly more in value. The jump between these two is painful, but this is permanent. So, you know, it makes sense that the jump is that big. Actually, the weird jump is between the yellow and the green. The greens are very, very expensive comparatively, but they tend to be pretty decent too. They last a little while, as we've seen for this game. So the white company is sitting here with the option to buy that first gray train. Maybe. It would involve selling shares. Maybe not. Yeah, it would have to be both of them because I can't make my run before I sell my shares. So if I don't buy it, who will? That's the big question. Or am I happy enough just running my little crappy 3 train? I have 2 shares I could dump. That'll drop my stock value significantly, and I've bought up in this. To get $100 so that I can buy a gray train, which gives me a permanent train, will kill the greens, which causes some serious harm to blue. He's invested in blue a little bit. Nobody's invested much in that shit. Gosh. Hastens the end of the brown train. And my run goes something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now. Not even taking advantage of that full 6. Again, red is counting on being able to get the black train. Which they can do if I buy that gray train. On the other hand, the 3 train could do this or this, and I don't know. These are worth 20, 40, 60, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55. And of course I've got an upgrade in there which can add another $5 basically, however I want to play that. Do I want my permanent train? Do I not? Oh wait, 2040-60 is with the... Oh no, 2040-60 is just running that 3 train, whereas if I get the 4 train, it's 20, 40... Wait, what did we say? 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, 75. 60 versus 75 for a basis. I think I'm actually fine not buying the gray train. The gray train kills my green, so there's no real advantage to it. And I have enough money with a little kick in, but after my run, almost certainly, to be able to buy a black train, so I'd rather hold. I have this. That's 40 bucks. So 150, 165, 205. Not enough money to buy 2 trains. Might be in the future. Might be if I buy the cheaper gray train. Ooh, that's an interesting question. And hold off on these. Can I hold off on these? I cannot hold off on those if I'm buying the gray trains. I'm gonna not convert that. Blue, which is in a troubled position, having 2 companies in this condition is not great. I have no permanent trains. I have enough money to buy 1, but not enough money to buy 2. It feels like I have to swallow with blue, which is why he sold out of his blue. I'm not sure why he did not. That means that, well, let's take a look. Because it's a weird situation, because if I swallow, I lose stock value. But it's only a $5 difference. Whereas, so I'd be getting $5 plus, what 1 share produces. 1 share is going to produce, it looks to me like 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, call it 80. So I can pull 80 bucks in, or 21, that's actually a $10 difference. Oh, 26 then. Yeah, I don't rightly know. Because it all depends on how quick that gray train falls. Who's going to buy it? Nobody seems to want it, right? White's passed on it. I don't have the cash for it. I think I'll just pay out. Keep boosting things up. See where things fall. It could be they fall with me losing a whole shitload of money. But that's the kind of risk you got to take when you're looking at a situation like this, I think. I think I saw a red connection here that's not there, that they were able to make more money. I don't remember what I ran them for. 4 shares, 10, 20, 30, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80. I think that's what I ran for, and I shouldn't be able to do that. I gotta fix their money, because I'm just looking at, oh, I can cut this off more permanently. It's not guaranteed permanent. There's the gray tiles, which could upgrade it eventually, but yeah. And I needed to dig in this way to make it there. I may have to try from this direction. But let me take some money away from red. I don't know how much. Leaving things as they were, it looks like 10, 20, 30, 45, 55, 65, 75, and what did I say, 80, I think. 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, 55, 65, 75. I think I get the same amount. That doesn't make sense. 10, 20, 30, 45, 55, 65, 75, 10, 20, 20, 10, 20, 35, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80. So yeah, I'd be losing $5 per 10%. Well, so a 0.5 bucks per 10%, whatever that works out to, which is basically $1 a share, I think. Able to pay out double because of that at 80, so that gets us there. And I feel like the game has a tendency to make stasis type situations on that gray or last brown train very appealing. Maybe that's just my psychology, but here I just didn't have the money, and I'm running for decent money and making that ground up. I'm holding my competitors at one train each unless they break down and buy that gray train. And buying the gray train for white means he kills his green train, so he's still only at one train. Not necessarily that appealing a growth, although he's getting double the amount of spaces. 1, 2, 3. He doesn't have a lot of extra room on this tight little board to get to anywhere yet. So that's kind of unappealing to him. And with him, well, I mean, his strategy was to go for the black train, and now that's being foiled. He may end up buying the gray train to break things open, to get rid of those greens and to force shit out. But it delayed things for a turn by just the nature of it. Worth the cock up that I made with red is in part due to the token, which I could put somewhere else. But no matter where you put it, yeah, it's extra clutter on the counter. And then the off-board connection being there, which leads you to believe something's hooked up there. It's the kind of thing that I think is understandable to make that kind of mistake, but whatever. I paid out my cash, and yellow is again our first company, sitting on 2 trains. Absolutely no desire to try to get a third if it was possible, which I don't think it is. You're only allowed 2 at this point in the game, starting with the 4 train. And so nothing too exciting is going to happen there. I'm just going to collect up money, getting to have enough for my 4D trade. I don't have a lot of capability to shift things around. I could have bought a train with blue, and now it wouldn't get to run again because I'm playing with the clarified rules. And I think I must have screwed up with yellow as well, because I'm looking at my runs and we're seeing I would have run 1, 2, 3, I think. I don't know what it was. Right now, I could run 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. I think I had a 3 and a 4 run. My best guess is we're looking at a loss of about $1 a share that I should take off yellow, because I think I fucked them up too. So I'll remove some cash. I'm worried that I'm forgetting to pay that $5 per upgrade for cities. I may have missed one. I just did this one. I think I did one before, but I'm not sure if I did it for this. I think I did, but it's hard to remember, these kind of things that are significantly different from other XX games. What does my run come down to now? So I'm running basically 1, 2, 3. Actually, I think, no, because I can't make this. And that's why it's only $1, is I'm missing this 0.5 here that I would have gotten before. I want to hit this twice, so yeah, that's okay. So what I'll be running is a 1, 2, 3 and a 1, 2, 3, I guess, which is 25, 35, 40, 50, 60, 65, not very good, 70, 80, 90, 100, 125, and 35, 140, 150, I think. I feel like I'm having a lot more trouble counting in this game than in most. I don't know why. Maybe because of the small numbers. The city's having too many fives in them. So we certainly pay that out. There's no reason not to. And then actually will get us up to here. Which means we'd like the game to end. You know, there are games where it ends when you hit the corner. Not this one. It has another reason to buy that gray train at this point, to make this hookup work. There are tiles which will. Many tiles which will. Not that one, but yeah, almost anything else. And then there's also the question of, hey, do I want to open another dot? And the answer may be yes. If I'm running a 6 train, I can run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which seems appealing. So I think I have to buy that train. Unfortunately, I have to sell all my shares probably. 60, 110, 125, yeah. I don't have anything that's going to let me get extra cash some other way. So there goes my stock value for what it's worth, but I might be able to get, I should be able to get 2 spaces forward, and there's a lot of room to get up to the top, so I don't think I'm actually losing anything for that. So 120 into here. I pay 150 for that first gray train. If I don't buy this, this is getting away with too much. Yes, I'm riding it. How bad is it? I don't know. But by buying that, I do some definite damage to other players. And yeah, that means I'm probably not going to get to run my brown train again, but I get to run 2 trains at once at this point, which should be pretty impressive. And forgot I have 2 trains running. I ran the first one for like 13.5, but it's actually more than that. I've got a second train running. So the first one ran this way because I opened up this hole. I'm not going to be able to get another train in that way at this point. However, I should be able to get a 3 train. I don't have any of this magic hooked up here. That'll add another 10, 25, 35, 45, 50, 60. So let's get some additional money into people's hands. That is, I could have swallowed that money. It comes out to like 195, which would be enough for me to buy another train. Everything's cheap in this game. Then instead of here, I would be here in stock value. With 2 operating rounds, I hit to here. Chances are the 2 operating rounds are going to get me up to here. I'm not going to actually make it terribly high because, no, I was making 13.5, so I should get one more double payout. So I should make full stock value. I think that's worth doing rather than trying to maximize my income on the last couple rounds. Get more stock value, and I don't swallow, so I take more cash in that I can reinvest in the next stock round. So overall, looks like it's a good move. It's in the unenviable position of having to buy that last gray train. Not really any other options. I mean, maybe somebody would offer up a brown train for a pile of cash. He kind of doesn't have enough for 2 trains as it is. But yeah, I have $110 worth here, 55. Let's see. 105, 130, 140, 150. You know what? I only have to sell one share, and I have enough to buy everything. So I'm probably okay with that gray train, with just a gray train, especially since I have the same route set up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going through. It's going to make okay money. Red got one round of great money, but now they're going to be down to okay. I think okay is good enough. One thing, I have this card, which makes buying the gray train less appealing. What would be involved if I bought this? Well, he would want enough that he could buy 2 trains, which comes to $225 total. He has that, doesn't he? No, $325. I would need a fair amount of cash for that brown train to be worthwhile. Now, I'm going to be able to juggle trains conceivably, which is to say, the gray train may end up getting bought here, picked up by blue, not able to run it because of that rules change, right, or clarification. But it still wouldn't be, it would have a legitimate train. So that there's some weird things that happen because of the train ordering still. It does still, now you have a capability to have a company fail to pay out, but have a train. At least that's how I'm reading it. And again, that kind of seems like a special case that maybe needs to be called out in the rules because it is a weird situation. What do I have sitting here? I have 85 times 2 is $170. I have enough to buy 2 big trains anyway. Screw White. He's on his own. Yeah, so $150 I'll be buying the gray train, I guess. I would have liked a yellow train. I may cash this in so that I can upgrade a city and make some more money off that. Who is in a troubled situation, there's no question there. Got one share I could sell for $40. 65, 75, 78. I don't know what this ran for, 14 or something. Clearly not the money I need. However, we have money on board here for a couple of grays. The brown train still exists. It's been used though, just, as a reminder. Which means what? I'm going to see if sold on the open market moves it down. I think it does no matter what. Sometimes this is a baseline, but that arrow seems to indicate, yeah. Which means I would lose some stock value, which I'm going to lose some anyway, if I sell this 20%. What is it worth to me? That's the first big question. This $80, what is this worth to me? They said 170 and 200. I don't think I'm going to be able to buy more than 2 4Ds. So let's move $2 over to buy this train, not sell my share. And because company is going to be in really questionable shape, so I can keep holding it with 20% no matter what, kind of. And I want to grab this black track here, make sure it doesn't end up down there. Not sure what the likelihood is of that, but whatever. And I will not get a run, so I'll go back. Some interesting other consequences to what has been done. First of all, hey, I can hold this with one share because it is pretty suspect. In fact, I don't know if he wants to hold his 20%, but whether or not he does, it is sitting up there and potentially able to get a really good train. And we'll see what the decision making on that is. But this has no trains. It has enough cash, especially if I start buying shares at 85, or if I sell my shares at 85, it has enough shares to buy 2 of those black trains, one of which can go over here. But here's the problem. When I buy those 2 trains, I got to run both of them, because there's a requirement in the game, as there are in certain XX games, many of them, for you to run the biggest route that anybody can point out to you. So it's quite possible that somebody, that even if I don't want to run that and I want to get it over here, I still will not be able to run the blue company yet again, and it's going to lose money for another round. Very, very likely if people are selling shares of it. Yeah. So there's going to be some hurt there. The other thing that I'm wondering about, I don't remember the use of strategy cards. Where does it say? At any time during an operating round. Okay. So I might have won it as soon as the yellow company ran to move that token over here. Probably gonna, I get an extra $5 each operating round. I don't shift it, but this is not a good place for other people. Everybody's kind of focusing on this space. Well, I can still hit that space, but the connection is painful. I'm going through this. If the doubling moves here, maybe I don't want to hit this space anymore. Although the difference in cost from 20 to 30 for this one space, that's a big hit. And that's a big reason why you saw blue paying the $5 to upgrade that, whatever, making sure that I get that upgraded. I'm also going to be upgrading one of these with yellow, and upgrading one so that it has no free spaces because I don't want to let people through. But yeah, there's a couple of interesting points that are coming out of this, and it's kind of shaky because the idea of buying the trains first, this is new, right? And that's causing some of the disruption. All right. Well, everybody gets their chance to fill out their portfolios this stock round. Let's see what that does. What's our priority looking at? 15 to 7 and 6. So we're still going to have the same ordering that we had. And I'm going to break a little bit. Bring the next stock round with the initiative over here. He's got his 60% of his own company. Can't buy any more of that. He's had 3-4 shares total. Yellow shares are particularly bad investments because they're at the top of the stock chart. And they're going to jiggle around. They're going to make some good money, but, they're only going to make whatever money they run off of, which probably means a share of blue is better than a share of yellow at this point. However, red is, well, red is not going to be in as good a position as those blue shares in terms of making money back. But I can put a threat on red by buying a share. I have a lot of cash. So I'm going to do that. That puts a challenge in terms of hey, Red's going to have to buy another share to protect their investment or something. I mean, this guy could buy the share of it. Initiatives over here. Now, I don't want to flip any cards over. There's no reason to, because you can do that last, and you do them one at a time and everything. So it stretches out the stock round, but whatever. Over here, again, blue is not a great investment. I can't sell yellow, or I could lose control of my company with all my money on it that I absolutely need. Blue is not a great investment, so I don't necessarily want to buy that. White and yellow are the choices. Both are going to be stuck. I'm sorry, white and red are the choices. Both are going to be stuck with a single gray train, it looks like. Whichever one I buy, the other one I will not get. And it looks like they're about the same. There's more money on here. There's an extra share here, so I can buy the red share. 60 bucks, huh? Buy the red share because that's rare. There are 2 white shares available, and he can't buy one. Puts me over to here. I do not want to own blue. I may not want to sell blue, though. Yellow, however, may or may not want to sell it. But the ordering is fixed, so nobody's going to buy and sell a share of yellow. Might see, I could be able to seize yellow, forcing him to buy another share, and then I could sell some shares and all kind of tricky stuff like that. There's 2 white shares. I don't want to buy both of them yet. I could buy one. I don't want to buy it yet because that might be available. So I think actually buying a yellow share might make sense. Because that puts him into a threat. There are no red shares left, so he can't take the company. Again, I'm not sure how much taking a company's worth in this. The late game advantage is usually the extra percentage on a share. I cannot buy the white share. All that's left are... Oh, there's yellow left. Blue and yellow. There's a lot of blue shares left. I too will buy a yellow share. So that's 75. I gotta cash this in. Nothing too complex is happening here, but 85 bucks for the last yellow share to here for whatever that's worth. That turns it back to here. Well, yellow is no longer able to lose his shares. All his cash is here, so his stock value is not going to go down from that. He's got other things he could buy. He wants to buy a white share, I guess. So I got 2 choices. I could buy a white share for 60, or I could start buying up blue shares. Now here's where maybe I want to buy a white share and convert it and get, or convert something and get some cash back. Because if I buy the white share, that leaves me only 30 bucks, which is not enough to buy a blue share. But half a white share to get a full blue share may not be worth much, because again, I'm not going to be able to run the trains that yellow buys for blue. What I could do, though, is buy another blue share for 35 bucks and convert that into 18 bucks, I guess. Which gives me enough left to buy a white share. So I'm only buying half a blue share, and that should be on short term, in order to get the extra cash for the white share. Okay. Doing it in the right order here. 2, 3, 4, 5. I got room for 2 more shares. The only things that are left are white and blue. I have enough money to buy that white share, but not the blue share in addition. I don't really want a second blue share. So I will just buy the white share. Okay. Oh, that puts me back over here. Can't buy the white share. The only thing that's available is a blue share. I don't know that I really want, but 35 bucks. I grab it out of here. This is probably my portfolio. If that's the case, I convert one of my white shares to be a long-term investment. Now we're getting to where, like, presentation is difficult to see. I'm only allowed to shift 1 share at a time. Not that that's a big deal, but... And that will put us over here. 2, 3, 4, 5 shares. There's something open still. There is a white share open for 60 bucks, which I buy. And I'll convert this to a long-term share. Puts me back here. There's nothing. There's a blue available, but nobody wants that fucking blue share because you buy that, you end up owning the company, and the only way that company is going to be saved is through yellow. So we're just going to start converting things to long-term shares, and that's just a one-at-a-time thing. All that's left is that blue share. Nothing's going to happen. Everybody's going to basically convert all their shares to long-term. Essentially, at the end of the stock round, we have everything going up in value except blue, because nobody wanted to buy that last blue share, and that's okay. He would love to make the extra money on it, but... And all the strategy cards are going to pay out still, because nobody's used any of them except for the lone one, which serves no more purpose in this game, but we'll put it there. All right. The first company has 350 bucks to buy itself 2 of these black trains. That's going to kill the brown trains. Them go away, and shit, I built this too early. I don't know. Yeah, I just leave it there. I'm not used to the black piece as opposed to gray pieces. We'll just leave that alone. It's enough of a mistake. Okay, so now yellow must run both of these trains if anybody tells them they must. And this guy sure is going to tell them because he's got 2 long-term shares of yellow and only 1 long-term share of blue. So he'd rather see blue fail to make some money. Okay. And that means he can point out a better route. These are 4D routes. Yellow is going to upgrade something probably there. I got to make a decision on whether or not I'm going to use this. I think I will, to move it over to here, because that will make less money from the red and the white. Obvious decision, and maybe I don't want to make it until after I make my run, because I may have a better run, especially with 2 of these 4Ds. I can do it at any time during the operating rounds, not just on my own turn, and certainly I could do it at any time during my own turn, even if it was more explicit, so, you know, more limiting. So I pretty much have the capacity to make a decision of which place I want to put it at for running 2 4D trains. 235 run off. All right, so that's 23.5 for 10%. Let's take a look at what that does. 23.5 would be doubled to 47. So that's 47 a share. So for this share, he gets 47 bucks. He also gets 47 for this share. 47 and 47 is 80, 94. But I can put up to 10 of it and must put up at least 5 here. So what did I say? 94. So now I get 84. And that'll go into my cash. And likewise, I've got to do that with everyone else, right? So we were saying 47 is the run. I can put up to 10 of that here. That means 37 goes into my pocket. Now, this money that I'm putting here is just doubled. And I could just be taking it and doubling it right now. It is more important if it happens between, you know, in some earlier period in the operating rounds. Right now, I'm just doubling that money for no apparent reason. The prior time I played, I saw some more long-term shares being created so that they actually had an effect back here, but this time it didn't make sense. The portfolios weren't as filled out for whatever reason. The stock prices are higher. That's the big reason. Once again, 47, 94 here, but here I can drop 20 in there, so that is 74. And that's just how the mechanics of that are played out. What they actually do is more impressive elsewhere. But you've got to be careful that you're looking at actual long-term. It's not terribly easy to tell what's long-term and what's short-term. So here I've got 1 long-term, 1 short-term. I think everything... Yeah, these are indeed long-term. Once you start getting coins on them, it's easier to deal with. But on the first round where they show up, it is not so easy. On the other hand, it does start creating more messiness on the board. I don't know how much value there are. It's a cute little concept. Certainly where we're seeing it here, the short terms got people a couple extra shares early on. The long terms are really just creating double money, you know, an extra 10 bucks per share for the rest of the game. And that'll get us to the red company, which obviously doesn't have much cash, so it's just going to run its gray train. But I was going to fire this off. That loses me 5 bucks, but it moves this here where it's going to cause problems for the red and the white companies in terms of being able to run for better money. Moving that doubling marker is a big deal. That really kind of hurts red, because before I was able to run from here and all the way around. Now I don't have a clear good route. I got I could build track from here, so I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's probably the best that I can do at this point. It's also possible that I might be able, so I could hook these up right away. At some other point, I could maybe do something like this, or something that curves up into here. But the problem is, before I was hitting this, which is a nice space, this, which was the rich super space, taking one doink hit, and everything else was okay. Now, I'm kind of in a shitty position. I had something of a choice here. A swallow would have gotten me easily enough money to buy myself one of them black trains, but you know, I just don't think it's worth it. Actually, a swallow would get almost anyone a black train. But the thing is, you'd go back a space, therefore you'd be, I don't know, 20 bucks short or whatever, and in terms of stock value, and how much more are you going to gain? I could calculate it out and see if it's worth it, but my gut tells me it's not, so I'm going to follow my gut. I tend to do that in XX games. That gets me to one last one, which is blue. Blue has no train. I got track building capability here. I buy a train that can't get me anything and go here, because I have nowhere near the money to get a black train. So, you know, I would just not be gaining enough. And that pushes me to the next operating round. And again, we're not seeing all the cards getting played out, because he doesn't need the yellow one with its bonus. He's just not hitting that. What he's running right now is his 6 train, I think, was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to a blue off-board location. Not much I can do about that. This is worth more than this. And the other route, which was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I can't hit this and that. And yeah, it's just not. It doesn't work out so that I can hit many things. I think red actually got not the best route, but when they ran, but that's okay again. And so that means all those things pay out, and everybody's stuck up here, not gaining stock value, but again, not gaining is better than what blue did. Blue's gonna break out and make their way up to 40, so you make a little bit of cash off of it. But other than yellow, no one was making. No one was stuck against the wall on the first operating round, so it works out okay. And I guess we just run once more and pile up more chips all over the place. You notice the blue long terms didn't get any. This is a short term. Didn't get any cash on them, and the others all have 10 bucks because that's what it's worth. You want to put every penny you can into those at this stage in the game, because you're not going to get to buy more stock. At other times, you might want to only put 5 bucks into a long term or whatever, just because, hey, I can buy another share if and you'll be doing those kind of calculations. And again, I find that kind of a pain in the ass. I kind of like to have as much on autopilot as I can and still have the major decisions. Where I'm fiddling too much within a dollar or two, that becomes disturbing to me, to say the least. Which may be why we didn't convert any to long-term early. I don't know. The last time I played, someone managed to get, and this was without the train swapping or anything weird going on, someone managed to get to pretty close to full portfolio, so it started to make sense. Like, it was obvious they were going to get to full portfolio next time, so it made sense to put some cash aside. Here, I think everybody pretty much spent most of their money, so it really worked out okay. And 2, 4, 5, 6, not full. 2, 4, 7 full. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not full. So yeah. I'm worried I didn't do those black trains right. I think I failed to double them. Because I'm looking at this. 35, 60, 65, 75, 85, 95, 115, 125, 145. This should be 290 on its own. I think I was at like 28 on its own. So yellow's gonna pay out a lot more. I gotta make up a lot of ground for yellow. So I think it's 28 a share paying out on those yellows that I did not account for here. Whoops. It's confusing because, and I forgot to pay this shit out too. And this is where the calculations are painful, because I'm doubling for the 4D train and doubling because I have double shares. And, this is where I get fucking confused with this. It's especially in the late rounds where the double train comes out. But yeah, trying to pay attention to all the different facets is painful. So I think it was a 28 run. I don't know about that though. That seems low. Let me see, what am I getting here? 35, 65, 75, 85, 95, 105, 115, 135, 140, 145. I don't know. I just don't fucking know. Like, what was I pulling per share last time? I should have a fair idea of it. So I had 2 of these suckers, one of which was running essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, and one was running 1, 2, 3, 4. There may be some increases, but 35, 65, 70, 75, 85, because yeah, I was hitting this twice. 35, 65, 75, 85, 90, 110 for one route. Not yet doubled, but okay. 110 for one route, and I don't know, 125, 155, 165, 175, 195, 205, 230 sounds like it. So that should have been doubled. Yeah, 56 sounds right. So that should have been doubled to 56, which means I gave, Jesus, what? 23 a share, or yeah, not 23 a share, 23 per 10% too little, which means for yellow, I owe 56 per share to each player. And that's what I'm going to give them. I think, it's hard to remember to double twice, and then once you forget it, it's really hard to figure it out. But I think that's what it came out to. Maybe I'm a buck off one way or another because there should be some rounding, but I don't know. Because of that, I have to refigure what my 4D train is, which is going to run here, here, here. I don't have anything special, and then down. So that's going to be 35, 65, 75, 85, 95, 115, 135, 140, 145. Doubled is 290. Doubled again is 58, which I think is less than I got last. It should be a lot less. Yeah, because last time I was getting 56 doubled. Now I'm getting 58 for each share. Okay. Attempts to make these sort of superpower pieces, they don't quite do it, right? Here, let me show you why. This one obviously wouldn't do what I want, which is to connect into here. Well, this piece can only go this way out of any track, out of anything I can play. So it doesn't open me up this capability to get to here, which, you know, but it opens up all kind of other weird track lays. This piece wouldn't have done what I wanted either. So it's not like you're covering a lot of the kind of expected brown upgrades with less track or anything like that. You're just really kind of making a mess of assumptions. I upgraded to this because I was hoping to cut into there, but it's not going to happen. So all I'm going to do is increase my value by a little bit. This piece wouldn't have been allowed in there. I definitely have to hit this, so that's fine. And after everything ran, blue running the same as yellow, white running a little bit better than red because I had an extra upgrade to put into play. Like a $50 better, you know. This is our position, and now we take these cash amounts and double them. So this is 20, 40, 60. So I'll get 120 in there and put the rest of these back. And likewise with everybody else's cash. And then do the count up as you normally would with share values. Everybody's stuck at 85 now, which should make things kind of interesting. That definitely did not happen last time I played. And with the, well, except for blue, which is down at its lousy 40. And just, you know, assess the cash. Now, notably, each of these shares is worth exactly what it shows on there. It doesn't matter if it's short-term or long-term. They're still the same as normal shares in terms of final valuation. And for the short terms, you've lost out on dividends since you converted it. For the long terms, you've been putting money aside into some extra high yield account outside of the game or something. That's all. Calculate out the monies. Cash on hand, not too different. Stock values, not too different. We're looking at a game that's, you know, really $200 apart. My prior game, which was also about $200 between first and third place. So, you know, there's a certain tightness to this. But I think it was pretty obvious. Was it? Yeah, I think it was pretty obvious that this guy was doing the best from a fairly early point in the game. He was getting a decent amount of cash. And yes, attempts to crash him were made, but there was only so much that could be done. What came in worst was the two company strategy. Now, that would not have been the case if you could exchange trains back and forth and run them on both companies. That would have been the thing that made up for the two companies. But what did the two companies mean? Well, among other things, CEO shares are worse than any other because you can't convert them to long-term shares at the end of the game. So they make $10 less around than other shares. At the very least, that's a difference of, you know, 20, well, one of them, yeah, basically $20 right there in a game that's only $200 apart. So I would say avoid getting that second company unless you have a really good reason for it. Now, there was a nice synergy here, you know, and we were able to run this thing and control it and get some good shit off of it. But it's not enough. Now, again, clearly, if I was able to shift a pair of 4Ds back and forth between the two companies every time for a couple bucks, that would be a huge, huge advantage that I'm sure would blow away whatever disadvantages there were. There were other disadvantages. I couldn't convert my extra share to a short-term share, which both of the other players did, to be able to get an additional half share, essentially, in dividends. And it gained full value as you went up, to the end of the game. It did not help that my yellow company was slammed against the 85 space earlier in the game than the red and the white company. Why? Well, because I tried to use a strategy that utilizes two companies by having one as the feeder for the other, right? That did not work. Overall, I have to say there's definitely something interesting to this. The first time I played it, it really kind of blew my mind. This time, well, it certainly did what I thought I could exchange trains between. But yeah, it seems to provide more of a game than I thought was possible in a 2 or 3 player game of XX. And certainly, when you're looking at the size and everything is scaled down. The payoffs are scaled down. Everything gets scaled down in a way that seems to work and seems to provide some level of interesting challenge still, which I was not expecting, because normally I look at a 4-player game of 1830 and I'm like, you got too much control. Well, you got a lot of control here, but I don't know. Maybe it's because it's new and I'm experiencing it with that kind of light. I'm not sure. The biggest problem I have with this game is the burden of the counting. It's really kind of painful because you count up your share, your run, you double the run, maybe double it again with the 4D train, and then maybe you're like getting half that doubling or whatever, Yeah, it's just, I find the counting, and then when you start piling up money on top of these little shares, I just find a few of the mechanical aspects of it to be a little bit too painful. And at least, though, this time it didn't last for very long, that stage where you're like dealing with lots of money on shares and everything. Last time, though, I remember having a similar collapse in terms of scoring. And 22 Mars has something similar, if I recall correctly, where it's like, because again, you're dealing with the tokens and the scoring, where it kind of throws me for a loop, because it's hard for me to overcome the expectations when I'm just doing mechanical acts. Those are well ingrained in me, and I do not like these 2 tracks. I really don't like them. I would much rather see them split into their components that are more standard for 18XX. Anyway, let's send that up. I'm not going to do a review on this. I don't do a review on the playtests because, it's really a question of how promising is what we're looking at, and whether or not any suggestions or anything are taken into account. There's no way for me to know that. But this does look interesting. One thing, one of the things that was appealing to me was the idea of, it's small enough to do on a coffee table or whatever. It's certainly smaller and shorter than most XX games, a lot shorter. That is definitely an advantage. I would not take this to like a coffee shop. I think I just think it's too involved a game to really put into that kind of circumstance. And I've got a certain thought wave for what belongs in a coffee shop. I played 18xx in a coffee shop, but it was a quiet coffee shop where nobody was. I'm talking more along the lines of some of the smaller pocket games that we've pulled into such situations where it didn't require anywhere near the amount of thinking that this does. But when you add the tray with the chips, or however you want to cover money, it's going to be, I think, a little bit too involved for sort of a place where there's music and people stopping by and all that. Which is what I mean when I say a coffee shop, as opposed to I was out like I said, we played 18, I don't know which one, probably 35 given the time period. I mean, grabbed two big tables and there was nobody else in the place, so it was just peachy. But I'm thinking a smaller type situation. I would not bring this into that. But yeah, if you've got the quiet and whatever, it at least would go on a smaller table. You could play this on a card table or whatever, in a way that might not be as accessible. And the shorter time frame is definitely a big bonus, I think, for people who want an XX-ish experience without the length of game that most of them have. Of course, on the other hand, the 1830 short game is pretty damn brutal too. At least in 6 it is, or 5, or whatever I played it in. But and comes in at a fairly decent size as well. So, yeah. All right.